$6 per gallon. That's where gas prices are heading. And the decision that set that in motion was made in a single speech in the Oval Office 2 nights ago. Here's what nobody is putting together yet. While Trump was telling the world to secure its own oil supply, 40 nations were already in a room doing exactly that without the United States. And Canada wasn't watching. Canada was leading. Stay with me, because what happened inside those 2 rooms in the same 24-hour window tells you everything about where this trade war is actually heading and who currently holds the stronger hand going into the most important renegotiation in North American history. If you've been following the Canada-US trade standoff and you want the real picture, not the headlines, subscribe right now and hit the bell. We track this conflict in real time, every single move. Let's go back to Wednesday night. Trump stood in the Oval Office during a primetime national broadcast and delivered a message to every nation that receives oil through the Strait of Hormuz. He told them directly, that route is yours to protect now. America is done. He said Iran had been brought to its knees. The hard work is finished. Handle the rest yourselves. Within minutes of that speech ending, Brent crude jumped 6.7% to $17.92 per barrel. WTI crude followed, climbing 6.2% to $16.39. The head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy confirmed what that means for the average American driver. Retail gasoline could hit between $4.25 and $4.45 per gallon within 2 weeks. Diesel prices, anywhere from $5.80 to $6.05. That is not a geopolitical number. That is a number you will read at a pump. Now, here's the first thing most coverage is not connecting. Trump framed this as American freedom, energy independence, no more policing the world's oil lanes. But here's the critical detail every consumer should understand. Energy independence does not protect American consumers from global oil prices. WTI tracks Brent. When Brent rises because of Hormuz disruption, WTI rises with it every single time. American households absorb those higher fuel costs, those higher transport costs, those higher heating bills, regardless of how much oil the U.S. produces domestically. Independence has protected producer profits, not your gas bill. New here? Subscribe and turn on notifications. We've been tracking every chapter of this conflict since the first tariff dropped, and this chapter is the one where the leverage becomes visible. Now, here's what was happening at the exact same moment that speech was airing. Mark Carney was coordinating Canada's participation in a 40-nation coalition, organized out of London and chaired by British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper, built for one specific purpose: to restore freedom of navigation through the same strait Trump had just told the world to manage alone. Canada signed a formal joint declaration alongside the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Australia, South Korea, the Netherlands, UAE, Bahrain, and 24 other nations, published publicly on the UK government website, committing all signatories to restore safe passage through Hormuz through coordinated diplomatic, economic, and logistical action. Canada was in that room. Washington was not. Put those 2 facts side by side and hold them there. Trump, take it and protect it yourself. Carney, already in the coalition meeting working to do exactly that. That contrast is not a coincidence. It is a strategy. But here's what you need to understand about why Carney was so calm during all of this. Because he had something in his pocket that most people haven't fully accounted for yet. Canada right now holds something genuinely rare in global trade. Simultaneous free trade access across North America through CUSMA, across Europe through CETA, across the Asia-Pacific through the CPTPP, and soon into South America through a Mercosur agreement expected to close later this year. No other G7 nation has that reach. The Trans Mountain Pipeline is currently running at full capacity, exporting Canadian oil to Asian markets for the first time in its history. Canadian oil sands are supplying 63% of the gap between Midwest U.S. production and actual refinery demand. Canada has met its NATO 2% defense spending target. It has secured uranium supply deals with India, and it just signed a multilateral declaration that positions it as a responsible, engaged, stabilizing actor in the exact energy crisis that is pushing American gas prices towards $6. Every single one of those facts lands on a negotiating table that is now exactly 90 days away, the USMCA formal review. Before we go further, if this breakdown is giving you context you haven't seen anywhere else, share it with someone paying $4 at the pump who wants to understand why. And subscribe if you haven't yet. Every update we publish on this negotiation is going to matter. Here is the detail from the last 24 hours that the headlines completely buried, and it might be the most telling moment of this entire conflict so far. On the same night as Trump's Oval Office speech, Carney and Trump spoke directly by phone. But here is what that conversation was reportedly about. Confirmed across multiple outlets. Not tariffs, not CUSMA, not trade. The call focused on the Middle East. Think about that for a moment. The U.S. president had just delivered a speech that sent oil prices surging past $16 and told the world to secure its own energy routes. The Canadian Prime Minister called, or received a call, and the topic was the crisis that speech had just deepened. Then Carney went directly into the 40-nation coalition meeting the following morning. He did not rush to offer tariff concessions. He did not signal any softening of Canada's position. He participated in the coalition, addressed the crisis plainly, and held his negotiating ground. The Council on Foreign Relations has noted plainly, the United States cannot effectively manage energy shocks of this scale without allied cooperation. Analysts at Carleton University have pointed out that reliable energy suppliers are being reassessed globally in the current environment. And the Globe and Mail stated it directly, the oil shock has handed Canada genuine strategic leverage heading into the USMCA talks. And here's the thing Carney understood from the very first day of this conflict, back on February 28th. The thing his 13 years as a central banker gave him that most politicians never develop. He knew exactly how energy price shocks transmit through an economy. He knew what $100 oil does to American households. He knew that patience in this specific situation was not weakness. It was the play. So where does this leave things right now? Canada enters the USMCA review period in 90 days with its pipeline at full capacity, its trade network spanning 4 continents, its NATO commitments met, its diplomatic credibility intact across 40 nations, and a confirmed role in reshaping post-crisis energy stability at the global level. On the other side of that table sits a president currently polling at 31% on economic approval, whose own speech triggered the oil price surge, who has publicly questioned NATO's value and repeatedly challenged the worth of the same trade agreement now under formal review. This is not a situation where Canada is isolated. This is a situation where Canada is positioned. And the clearest proof of that? Trump told the world to take the strait and protect it. Carney was already in London doing exactly that, hours before anyone had finished reading the transcript. If this gave you the full picture, share it with anyone who is currently paying $4 for gas and deserves to know who shaped that price and who is actively working to stabilize it. Share it with anyone who has been told Canada is losing this standoff. And if you want every development in this negotiation tracked in real time as it happens, subscribe now, turn on that bell, and stay close. The next 90 days are going to be decisive.